Yesterday, I quit my job, the one I've had for the last 18 months, and it was a long time coming. It's something I've been trying to do for the past, I'd say half a year, right, since December, January. But after seeing how little they were going to use me in the upcoming weeks, they were going to have me for they had me for no shift this week, and then one shift the week after this upcoming week, which was I think on like the 10th or something, and then none for the week after that. So I just say, you know what, this is stupid. I'm not going to keep waiting around for one shift or less a week. This is the illusion of having a job. Let's just make it official that I don't have one again. Let's not even pretend anymore. As I sat here thinking about it, I've got another video that's going to kind of rant about the job. It's not going to be the full focus. It's just something that'll get touched on in like a series of grievances I have. But really, I found myself with a bit of a mixed series of emotions yesterday. Like, part of me was happy to just finally not have to go back to that godforsaken place. The other part was sad because of what that job used to be. Like, I've told the tale before about how, I got that position after 11 months of being unemployed, and how, in those early months, I was, getting roughly 20 something to 30 hours a week, right? Closer to 40 than zero in terms of hours. I was able to get free food. And even if I didn't like how far away it was, or that sometimes, a manager would get mad at me for not being as quick as they would like, I still, for the most part, enjoyed the job. And it was when you got to the section of last year where they raised the wages to 20, and we started getting these half shifts, that things started going downward, where I was only getting, 10 hours a week at one point. And what's funny is that over the summer, they did the 2 shifts a week thing again. And then after that, it was from like, I'd say July all the way until October or November. It was always 3, 4, and in one case, 6. And I guess what's so amazing to me is that it really appeared that after a few months of not being able to kind of like figure out what they were going to do about having to pay people $4 more an hour, right? First, they cut the hours to like stave off the increase. It seemed as though they had worked out a strategy, right? They would hire less people, and the ones that they already have, they would use them to a degree where, again, even if they're part-time, they're still getting closer to 40 hours than zero. But when we got to, what was that, October? I'd say this November or December, that's where it really just all went downhill to nothingness. I mean, from right before Christmas of last year, all the way up until now, I have received 2 to 0 shifts a week. So for like the last 6 months. And what's funny is that one of my relatives was like, oh, they're getting back at you for turning them down when they asked you to stay longer, which I said wouldn't make any sense. You don't punish someone for not staying longer by giving them less hours that they're scheduled on. Because like your whole purpose is to try and get them to work for you when you need them. But then if you're showing that you don't need them, then why would you even ask them to stay? To me, that didn't like add up as a thing to do. So around April, May, right after I had made an attempt or two to get out of here, I had 2 other coworkers who mentioned, right, getting 1 shift a week as well. One guy's not as bothered by it because he has another job. The other guy is just, call it what it is, simping for a company that doesn't care about him. I mean, when I'm talking to somebody and they're like, maybe if you learn these other things, you can get, more hours. And I'm like, oh man, 10 hours a week. Whoa. And he was like, but it's a stable 10. I just put my hand over my face. Like, people, oh boy, seeing them defend these companies it's always enough stuff to make your stomach turn. But no, one of the like main pushes I had over the last few weeks, just deciding, now is the time to get out of there, besides the 1 shift in 3 weeks nonsense they were trying to pull, was having that manager that got mad I didn't say hi to her in February have a talk with me about not saying hi to her in May. Like hold the fact that she held on to me not saying hello to her for months, and then like he tried to basically threaten me to say hi to her or else they would try to get me out. I just said this is stupid, because I said before, the main purpose of, and I will keep saying this, the main purpose of having a job is to be able to take care of yourself. When that is something you cannot do, and you can't do it not because you're going out and buying a bunch of expensive stuff or living above your means, literally because your job simply chooses to not use you more than a scant number of times a week or month, you're just not going to care about the rest of this other crap. Like, she's telling me about the culture of the restaurant. The culture of the restaurant doesn't mean a goddamn thing if you can't afford to live. And even if you did this other crap, which I already said before is stupid, because why should I have to learn additional things for the possibility of getting the same itty bitty number of hours I was getting a few months ago? It's just funny how a job can basically make itself irrelevant in terms of like being able to do what it's supposed to do, right? Allow you to take care of yourself, but then also expect you to conform to it. And that's why I told the tale of how with this other, this sales job, you're going to take 3 weeks to pay somebody, reserve the right to fire us anytime you want, but then expect us to go out and pay hundreds of dollars for uniform. Like that's stupid. That's why I walked away from, because that didn't make any sense to me, to piss all that money for a job that can get rid of you anytime they want. But no, it's all just a series of factors. The fact that like this place really is indicative of corporate greed going to its like final form, right? Like transforming before my eyes, where the main point of making a company, right, is to make money. Okay, whatever. But if you have to meet your profit margins by giving people 1 shift a week or 2 shifts a week, or I mean, I even told of how like the owner was like stalking me and trying to see how often I was using my discount to get two of the same item off at the same time. When you have to do like stuff like that, it really might appear like you're saving money or making more money in the short term, but I think in the long term it's going to screw them even harder, because it's not the fault of the employees that you have priced yourself out of the market. It's not their fault if only 5 people walk through the door in the first 2 or 3 hours of you being open today, because that no one wants to spend $13 for one little itty bitty meal and a soda. It's incredible how like everything is about making money, about meeting these margins, and they don't care the damage they do to themselves by exercising that desire. Like they have no issue having a revolving door of managers, not managers, of regular employees, just coming in and out of there. Just, hey, I started working at this job. Oh, they're only giving me 2 shifts or 1 shift. To hell with that. I have to pay my bills. And I don't know. It's like, you look at the treatment I had over the past 6 months. And I want to, I'm not going to make some big giant video, but I just want to like wrap it up with this. To have a job where a lot of times you would work because somebody else didn't come in on days where you weren't even scheduled. To have a job where you would stay longer when they asked you to stay longer because they didn't have enough people or to cover them and meet whatever goal they were trying to meet. To have that job in your last third of the time you're there just give you 1 and 2 shifts a week, it's disgusting. And like I said, the solution to this is to simply look for ways to actually minimize your cost elsewhere. Stop hiring more and more people. That's that's always a thing they can do. Actually try to see if you can make your meals not so goddamn expensive. But it's just, this is why I said we live in a rotten society, because a person who works should not be afraid that next week their job is going to only give them, a single digit number of hours, and then they have to survive off of $200 or $400 a month or less. Like it's stupid. So the first months of being there were pretty good. The first year of being there was kind of all over the place, and the last 6 months of being there was absolutely terrible. I wish them nothing but the worst. I don't think they're gonna go into bankruptcy or close down, but I hope that someday they get exposed for just doing this crap to people. It's not my fault if they're not hitting whatever profit margin that they want to hit, and a lot of times they do stupid stuff to themselves to ensure that's the case. That's why I say a lot of these sit-in restaurants and just fast food places in general are dooming themselves in the long term. And even the smarter ones like McDonald's, which are for example, like they have the McValue menu, but then they make the stuff like it's cheaper, $5 for 2 burgers, and the burgers are so goddamn small that you could probably fit both of them in your in like a piece of your pocket. That's them acknowledging, hey, our stuff is too expensive, but they're also like still being jerks or pricks because they're making their things so itty bitty that you wouldn't be able to get full off of it anyway. It's all just like scams on the part of these companies. And the last part of this is I want to say the thing I started noticing was that, so like I mentioned, the managers, they get their 40 hours a week and it seems like it's so great, but I've noticed that every person who got promoted to being a manager, like who I saw, I started working there, they were a regular employee, and then they got promoted. Every one of them is gone. One of them apparently got fired for too many tardies. The other one, she just voluntarily quit. They put a lot of pressure on her, from what I could tell, and she hadn't even been a manager for like little over half a year. So it's just funny that even if you make it to that top goal, they still seem to like rub people the wrong way and just make them say to hell with it. But yeah, to hell with that job. I don't exactly know what next one I'm going to be able to get, but I can tell you this: I would be no worse off staying at that 1 shift a week, 1 shift a month place than being just unemployed. Like it's basically the same thing, except you have a job in title only. And I don't enjoy not working, but man, it's when they called me in that office that day, about respect, and you don't say hi. It's like, who gives a damn, dude? Like, I don't. Most of the stuff I put up with in terms of like whether it's with work or even like with a lot of the internet stuff, it's like if you can't make money off of it, why would you care? Like, there are some jobs where people make 6 figures a year, so they'll go out and buy some expensive suits, or maybe get use their gas to drive over, whatever. You're not going to get me making $200 or $300 a month off of 1 shift a week to give a damn about the feelings of some inconsiderate bastards whose main mission is not to make their restaurant more profitable, but to go as much as they can into screwing me out of as much money as possible. That's their actual main goal. So that I can't respect people like that. And I am someone who is a sore loser, so I hope the whole place shuts down. I hope they get exposed, but I'm just glad to get away from the crash and burn.